Hello there, aspiring tennos. A bit of a different video for you today. I am normally very negative and cynical when it comes to these kind of videos. That's because I really care about the game. Otherwise, I wouldn't have almost 5,000 hours in here. Almost wasted a decade of my life. Anyways, I think today I'll talk about the 9 things that I actually do like about the games. Or the game, I guess. Just one game. Basically the reason why I'm still here, and perhaps also the reason why I'm bothered to make videos about this game. Anyways, without further ado, here is my top 9 things that I like about Warframe. First up, we have number 9, and number 9, no joke, is red crits. Now, this is the only entry on the list that honestly I wasn't sure if I wanted to include this or not, because really, you've been playing this game for 5,000 hours and one of the 9 reasons is red crits. But yeah, I think, myself included, a lot of people have been chasing after these red numbers for years now. There's just something so satisfying about it, and I have to give some credit for it. The idea of letting crit chance specifically scale above 100%, and the way that it's visually is presented on screen, it's very satisfying. So moving on quickly, number 9 is red crits. Then we have number 8, and for me that has to be just how gorgeous the game is. The visual department has been knocking it out for years. Absolutely stunning in so many different ways, and one thing that I really appreciate specifically is how luminescent some things actually look. It really, I get the impression, honestly, even though I know this is a video game, I know this is just a 2D graphic, but it really pops out and it looks like it's actually glowing, and that's very impressive. I don't see that very often in games, so I give a lot of points. There's also just a lot of detail in the environment, like all the time. A lot of publishers actually turned down Warframe because they thought it was too pretty. They didn't think that it was sustainable, that you would be able to make content consistently that looked this good and still turn a profit. So I think that is very commendable, and that's not to say that there aren't other games which, you know, look good or beautiful or whatever in their own way, but I don't think I would have been able to endure this game for this many hours if it wasn't just absolute eye candy most of the time. Number 7 is Arcanes. And no, I'm not joking. Arcanes is the catch-up mechanic in Warframe, and I really do appreciate the fact that it exists. Of course, it also adds some more customization. We'll get to that in a bit. But I will say, I played some games, especially the very grindy games, where it can, like, it almost feels impossible sometimes to get into the game because everyone is so far ahead of you. And so for the longest time, it sometimes almost feels like I have to put in 100 hours if I want to enjoy the game alongside everyone else who has been playing from day one, just because of power creep. This sort of solves this problem because, well, if you can get your hands on one of these, you can just slot it on. There are no requirements other than just having the Arcanes. And I also like the idea that they can be fused together. So early on you may only have a level 2 or level 3, but you still get you know, it's diminishing returns, so you get a good bit of the effect, allowing you to catch up more quickly, and then later on, if you want to grind it out, you can get those few extra benefits. I think that's cool, and I want to give credit where it's due. I also think the way that you farm these for island hunting is very cool, and because of this, it was also very expensive, allowing it to be an elite item that was tough to acquire early on as a sort of status prestige thing, but then later on it has sort of become more available for everyone, so a huge plus for me on that. Number 6 is customization. Now, I'm not talking about all customization, I'm just talking about the visual component here. If we take a look at a Warframe like Chroma Prime, for example, well, there's so many different things you can do, but off the top of my head, I'm sure it exists. but I cannot think of a game in which customization is not the main focus, which at the same time allows you to have this level of freedom. And you see the kind of stuff that people do with the Warframes. It's incredible, right? It's actually insane. Let's go and take a look at regional chat here. For example, we have a Sevagoth, for example, and I'm just choosing one randomly. Okay, it looks okay. I have seen better. We have one for Zephyr here, but I'm just going through some of them, and I mean, it's so good. It's just a few colors, and then the wings, of course. It's a few things, and you wouldn't think that it would make that big of a difference, but the options that we do have really well and truly allow us to create some truly amazing looking stuff. And so I have to give a lot of I guess points for that. And so surprisingly enough, the customization options for your Warframe specifically, I guess, is actually number 6 on the list, because I've spent a good amount of time creating these different looks for my Warframes, and the fact that I never care about customizations in terms of visual thingamajigs, the fact that I still like to do this is a testament to how well it's done. It's simple, everyone can do it, but also you can sink a lot of time into it, making it just a little bit extra perfect. So that's my number 6 pick. Then this is probably a bit controversial, and I'll say that it's okay to like a bad thing, and we don't all have to agree on this. I really like the freedom of choice. I really like that beyond a certain point, which occurs early on in your Warframe journey, you are free to choose what you want to do. Do you want to farm up the Tracer for some defensive mods? Do you want to farm some focus? Do you want to level up your Warframes? Do you want to focus on the story? Do you want to start doing the Steel Path? Do you want to farm Eidolons? Do you want to do the open worlds? Is there some weapons you want to level? Do you want to upgrade your Tenet or Kuva weapons? Like, there's so many options, and you get to decide what you want to do, right? It's not like one game mode where it's like, for example, Path of Exile, towards the end of a league, the goal for most people is either to farm Delirium or Legion, and you don't have to understand what that means, but basically what I'm saying is that there is an end goal, and so it's just like doing whatever intermediate steps to get to that one end game mode, which is the most rewarding, and then just doing that endlessly. Warframe is not like that, because most things remain relevant because of the way that mastery points work, and I really like that. It really is your Warframe journey, because you get to decide what you want to do, and when you don't want to do any more, you can just take a break from the game and then come back when the next update is released. So that's why it's so high up on my list. Then we have the modding system at number 4. Why is it so high up? You might say, well, there's nothing special about the modding system. It is quite difficult for new players to understand, so it's a kind of a kill screen, and at the same time it doesn't really have the complexities of other systems, so it doesn't really serve the veteran players either. And while I do agree with that, the thing is, you get to keep your mods, right? What I like is that you become more powerful across the board as you continue to play, because one, as you keep leveling up your mastery rank, you will have more remaining mod capacity every time you format as well. All of the mods you've already upgraded, you can use that on other builds, and since the core mods that are used in all builds are the same, obviously, because of this, you get to retain some of the value that you put into one build and transfer to the next one, and I think that's really great. It would have been very easy for them to develop a system in which you couldn't use, like, for example, if I'm using my Hunter Adrenaline on Chroma, then I couldn't put it on my Trinity, so I'd need to have 2 or 3 or how many ever, right? Making the game way more grindy, and I do appreciate that they did not do that. So yeah, that's my number 4. Number 3. You can shoot while you jump, and you can jump while you shoot. I don't have that much to say about this point, even though it is this high up on my list. But I think that a very important part of any game is what I and many other, I guess, call the core gameplay loop. And you know, there are multiple loops, and in Warframe the overall loop is you load into a mission, you do the objective, and you get out. But then there's also, you know, you walk around a corner, you kill all the enemies, and then you walk around the next corner. Rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat. And the fast-paced nature you get with Warframe, where you have all of these crazy movement abilities that a few game affords you, as well as some very powerful weapons, allows for some fast, high-octane action. And it's this dopamine factory kind of gameplay that has kept me here for a very long time. It is definitely one of the main draws, because Warframe has a lot of problems. But if I were to recommend Warframe to someone, I'd tell them it's ninjas in space, because that's what it is. That's what it feels like, and it's done excellently. So yeah, absolutely, this is worthy of being my number 3 on this very, very tight list. Number 2 should hardly come as a surprise to you. It is, of course, Warframe the market. No, I'm just kidding. It's the open market in general. I like the idea that you get to set your own prices. You can see here Garuda Prime for 300. Wow, exorbitant. But that is the price right now. I really like open markets. I hate shit like any game where the prices are sort of limited within the price range. I like the freedom of choice. Warframe is a very cooperative game. It's all about teamwork, it's all about helping each other, but trading is competitive. And I love having that aspect as well. And you know, Warframe is a very grindy game. Most of Warframe is just a gear check. That's all that it is. So if you're smart about your time, buying and selling in a efficient manner to get more progress, you can get ahead of other people spending the same amount of time. I like that. That's awesome. And you know how much time I put into my spreadsheets and just taking my time with creating all of this stuff? This is why. I absolutely love the free market. So that begs the question, what is more important than the free market to me in Warframe? When borrow? How borrow? Why borrow? What borrow? Where borrow? It's a community. My number 1 pick is the community. And it, you know, that might feel like a cop-out to some of you, because, well, the community is more than just one thing. But it also is a sum of all of its parts. And that is what makes Warframe worth playing for me. If there weren't, you know, I'm a relatively toxic person. I'm not beyond that. I do realize that fact. And in spite of that, even on my YouTube channel, which, you know, you foster the kind of people that are most alike yourself, and that's because I don't mind toxicity when it's in a constructive way. However, there's not a lot of it in Warframe. It's very limited, and people are still very nice over on the YouTubes as well. As well in game, someone's like, hey, can you help me kill this boss, right? And often when I message people, it's like, oh, it's okay, I already have 3 people helping me, even though it was just posted. Again, going back to Path of Exile, you want someone helping you with the boss, sure, but it's gonna cost you, right? You're gonna have to pay for it. Alternatively, I played a little bit of League of Legends, and I enjoy the gameplay somewhat alright. It was serviceable, it was fine, but I got into a 3 versus 3 twisted tree line when that still existed, and my 2 teammates had looked each other up on some third-party website, then trash talked one another, told them to each other to uninstall the game, then to kill each other, or themselves I guess, or whatever, and then left. And then I left and uninstalled the game, and I never played it again. And so obviously the community is a huge part of what makes a game like Warframe great. It sort of harpens back to the idea that it's, when I load into a mission, when you first start playing, it's set to public. It's you have to go out of your way to go into friends or invited only or solo or whatever, because the game is meant to be played in a group. When you play a mission, everyone has their own loot for the most part. The one exception to this would be the cool villages and the Sister Powers. I think it's because it's meant to be your personal nemesis. I'm not gonna get into that right now, but for the most part, it's all about cooperation. And when a game is built in a manner where it's difficult to ruin it for each other, because for the most part you can just carry the mission on your own two shoulders, it's gonna foster a lot of positivity. You might have noticed, if you've played a lot of Eidolon hunting, that it's a very non-forgiving and slightly toxic environment, and in the same way the Railjack is. And that's because those game modes allow, to a higher degree, allows you to make mistakes that impact your teammates, compared to something like Relics, where the worst you can do is being 1 minute late, you know? So I love that. And this community didn't appear out of a vacuum. The way that Warframe is designed has been instrumental in fostering this community. And I absolutely guarantee you this. If the Warframe community wasn't as strong as it is not as strong as it was 2 years ago, but still, if it wasn't as strong as it is, I would not be playing. I would not bother to make these videos. So this has to be my #1 pick. Anyways, thank you guys so much for spending however long this video is with me. And also, I will see you in the next one. I will see you. Also, one other thing. Obviously, you watched all the way to the end, so you must enjoy my commentary at least a little bit. And according to YouTube, not even half of the people watching me is subscribed. So maybe you could hit that subscribe button. Thank you very much. Anyways, I'll see you